The Putco bus drivers say they will not back down despite receiving dismissal letters. They've been on an unprotected strike since last week. They want a 6% wage increase and they're also demanding bonuses which date back to 2020. Now, at least 1,000 employees could face being fired now for participating in the strike. The action has left commuters stranded, forced to make alternative travel arrangements. Our reporter Nqobile Madlala has been following that story and she joins us now. Nqobile, thank you so much for joining us. It has been quite a chaotic afternoon. We understand that the Wildcat striking bus drivers had until this hour, until 5 o'clock, to explain to management their reasons that they shouldn't be fired. There have, of course, already been issued dismissal letters. Do you know if any of them have actually approached management, giving them reasons why they shouldn't be fired?
Well, Sally, according to Nqobile, the Putco spokesperson, he said to us that they were seeing a number of people sending in those letters via email. That's, of course, because of what was happening on the ground. He said that a lot of them felt intimidated by the protest action that was happening on the strike action that was happening on the ground, and as a result, they were using other forms of communication. So he said that they were seeing some emails trickling in. However, we do know that from some of the drivers that are here specifically, Sally, they have told us that they have not sent in any of those notices saying that they want their money and they just want to leave, and that's all that they're asking for. So it seems there are two sides to this matter. We do know that there are those that want to go back to work and there are those that do not want to go back to work. And we've seen it also in the morning, Sally. It was playing us right in front of us, where on the opposite side of us, on the other side of the road, we saw some of the workers that were stuck on the other side of the road being intimidated and scared to walk in because there were protest action that was taking place in this area. But we later saw, as the police were speaking to the workers that were here on an unprotected strike, asking them to just sort of make passage for them to go in, and we did see some of those workers going in, but most of them ended up going back home.
And at one stage we also heard, Nqobile, that management were actually being barricaded in their offices, and a little earlier it really looked like it was getting quite out of hand, police having to use stun grenades. Has that management situation been resolved in terms of them being barricaded in their offices?
Well, Sally, it got really ugly before it got better. I mean, we saw one of the management was trying to drive out of the gates, and I'm going to show you where it was. So he was coming from the side, Sally, and he was trying to get out. And this was at this position where some of the drivers then decided that they were going to block him right here and put him back inside, because they were saying that they were feeling like they were not being heard. And as a result, then they wanted him and along with other management members to come out and listen to them. This is, of course, in understanding that the 5 o'clock cut-off time that you're speaking about had come, and what they wanted to say was basically that they want their bonuses back and they want that 6% that they're supposed to get, and that they're ready to leave. But management was then blocked inside. That's when the police, and earlier on, Sally, there was a lot more police than what we saw at the time. When that scuffling happened, it was just about 2 vans that had come in to try and calm the situation, and that's when everyone just lost it. And we saw the police versus the people here, and they tried the police as much as they could. And at that point, we could see from the workers, and they were saying and uttering words such as they're not scared of the police, that they were not scared of being shot, and that they were going to ensure that management continues to work. They said that they've been asked to let them into work, and therefore they were going to stay outside here and make sure that the management continues to work throughout the time and throughout the evening. But of course, later on, we saw some of their leaders coming on the ground to try and calm the situation. Phumlani Ndlovu speaking to us and saying that they have spoken and they had decided that management was going to be given a chance to drive home. And of course, we did see that happening. As you can see behind me, Sally, most of the tires that were burning have now burnt out. We do know that they're now waiting for transport and they are leaving. But what they have said, Sally, is that they are vowing that they will be back here tomorrow with the passengers who also want their money, or rather who wants to be refunded for what has for the whole week of not having transport.
It's an interesting case because management is saying we're offering you 3%, that's the best we can do. And they've gone to court and had it confirmed that the strike is in fact illegal. So in a legal sense, the law is on the side of management. You're of course saying though that some of the workers say they're just not being heard. But it's interesting what you're saying is that clearly, it's very hard to know just how well supported this action is at this stage, mentioning to us that some bus drivers are in fact emailing to management saying, this is why we think we should still have our jobs, which of course is an important issue. I would imagine that quite a few people are now having second thoughts. Management seems to be holding firm. But let's spare a thought for the commuters. Am I right that it's commuters in Johannesburg and Pretoria who've been affected? Talk to me about that and what they should expect tomorrow.
Well, when we spoke to Lindogule, he was very clear in saying that they're starting from tomorrow because they're waiting for the 24 hours period to pass. So from tomorrow, they'll now be looking at how they can assist those passengers. As to whether or not the buses are going to be on the road, that of course remains to be known, because we do know that from some of the people that are on an unprotected strike, they said they are coming back here, which means that they are going to be blocking, which might make it impossible for anyone to drive out. But the passengers, Sally, from what we had heard from here when they came here to ask for their money, they were saying that it's been a week of using public transport, which is mainly taxis, and taxis are very expensive. They were speaking about the fact that some of them have to pay 100 Rand a day just to commute to work, and another 100 Rand coming back, which amounts to about 200 Rand. One gentleman even told us that they had spent over 800 Rand in just 1 week. Meanwhile, his tag costs about 800 Rand for a month. So you can imagine the amount of money they are going to be losing. Hence why they decided to come here and get Putco to sort of listen to them and respond to whether or not they will be getting that refund. However, we do know that the protest is not just only in Gauteng. We were told that it's also happening in Pretoria. Earlier on, we were speaking to the leader, some of the leaders here telling us that the protest action continued also in Pretoria, which means Putco buses are just not on the road completely. Now, you'll remember Putco buses are one of the buses that take people from Mpumalanga through the Mloto Road to Pretoria. And those are the people that are also suffering. Now, you can imagine the impacts that it has when you are taking these buses for long distance. And it's a lot of money for someone who's coming from Soweto to just town. How much more when you are taking that long distance bus?
Yeah, and of course we know that the trains are not running. That's the cheapest mode of transport. Buses are slightly cheaper than taxis. So taxis are the only option for many people in Soweto, Johannesburg and Pretoria tomorrow. Thank you so much for that update. That is our reporter, Nqobile Madlala.